Hello. I want to talk now about some of the meanings associated with the recent eclipses in March of 2025 and what the implications of all that might be for our future. So let's see if I can share my screen and we'll get started. So take just a minute as I get rid of some panels so I can see what I'm doing. Just about there. Okay, so this is titled The March 2025 Eclipses and Joy to the World. Hopefully, we will have more joy. And let's start with the lunar eclipse in mid-month. Here is a chart for that eclipse set with 0 degrees Aries rising, since houses will be different depending upon what location you're at in the world. Okay, now just looking at this eclipse chart, we see there's a pretty strong conjunction between Saturn and the Sun. And at things like solstice charts, equinox charts, other uh, charts I've looked at for full moons, new moons, and upcoming full moons, new moons, and eclipses. Uh, in many of the really important charts, Saturn has been prominent. And that suggests that this may be a year of scarcity. Saturn has to do with restriction, discipline, and regulation on the positive side, but frustration and restriction on the negative side. And with Trump imposing tariffs, I think he imposed lots of tariffs today on April 2nd. That can cause a lot of economic uncertainty and restriction in both America and the world. So it looks like that's certainly going to happen. By the way, the positive side of this, let me go back, would be to exert self-discipline in your life. Regulate your own life. Discipline yourself in some positive way. And that way you could get something positive out of this particular aspect. Now, also in this eclipse, we have the square between Mars and Chiron that is gaining strength. And a tense relationship between these two planets tends to bring out probably the worst of Chiron, and this could be wounding through violence or aggression. By the time we get to the solar eclipse, this is going to be very strong indeed. So, this is something which can be building in the months to come. But we also have this good aspect. Uranus is making a very nice sextile to Sun and Saturn, of course, a trine to the Moon. Uranus is in Taurus. Taurus has to do with resources, the things we like, what we enjoy, what we need to survive, money, finances. And Uranus is always something unexpected. It tries to break up the existing pattern. When it's functioning in a good way, this can be uh, creativity, inspiration, great ideas, innovation. So there might be some good financial things coming along in the aftermath of this lunar eclipse that runs somewhat counter to the tariffs America, Trump will be imposing, which can be very disruptive to the global economy, not just America's economy. But there's a possibility that people might find innovative ways to work around those tariffs or ways of implementing them which will be more beneficial than harmful. So let's see. Now, there are some midpoints being activated, and I usually use very tight orbs for these midpoints of 15 minutes. So If something pops up, it's pretty strong. And this is interesting. We have Uranus at the midpoint between Mars and Neptune. So Uranus over here, Mars here, Neptune over here. Uh, this reiterates that some creative vision may be put into action, hopefully beneficial. And we have Venus at the midpoint between Sun and Chiron. So let's see, Venus over here, Sun up here, Chiron down here. This would tend to bring out the better side of Chiron. And what Chiron is really about, it's this urge within us to go beyond the visible reality into some larger reality that is unseen but is more unified and more joyous. So at its best, Chiron is often associated with this transcendent joy. And of course, Venus is associated with joy and pleasure, and the sun represents ourselves. So uh, the pleasure of the joy of our inner self. How about that for a combination? There is, with this midpoint being aspected, more of a promise of something pleasurable happening. Uh, at the other end of the spectrum, though, this would be pleasure being wounded. If we are not open to this transcendent, higher joy of reality, then the hard shells that surround us often have to be cracked first to let that joy in, and that's where wounding can come about. So hopefully people will experience a beautiful joy as a result of this midpoint. But yes, it is possible that some could experience some wounding and some could experience craziness instead of innovation and aha moments. Okay, now I want to do something that I don't usually see being done. I'm going to look at the strongest harmonic chart associated with this lunar eclipse. And there's a wonderful little program created by Linda Berry for Sirius Software, which can look at the first 360 harmonics, 1 through 360, and evaluate them to see which one is the strongest. She is a vibrational astrologer. Vibrational astrology is a particular subdiscipline of harmonic astrology. And according to this program, the 266 harmonic should be the strongest. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Let me explain a little bit about harmonics first. You can take some interval in astrology, like let's take the 30 degrees interval that the signs of the zodiac comprise. Each sign has 30 degrees in it, and that actually represents a cycle. 30 degrees takes us through one sign, and you might think of that as like the minute hand on your watch. Your minute hand goes through a cycle of 60 minutes, and then the hour hand advances 1 hour. Likewise, in astrology, uh, think of the sun going through this cycle of 30 minutes for a sign, and then the hour hand on our astrological clock advances, and we start a 30-degree cycle over, a new 30-degree cycle, but we start it with a new sign. That hour hand essentially advances one sign after the minute hand has gone through the 30 degrees within a sign. Okay, so for any uh, set of degrees that we might pick, 30 degrees, 60 degrees, 90 degrees, whatever, we can think of that as representing a cycle. And In harmonic astrology, you take that cycle, you fill it up with an entire zodiac. And then the question is, if I take a point within, for instance, my 30-degree cycle for a sign, and if I've replaced that sign with an entire zodiac, a sub-zodiac, if you will, then the question is, where in that sub-zodiac will some point within the 30 degrees fall? For instance, if I go halfway through 30 degrees, 15 degrees, that 15 degrees will be halfway through the sub-zodiac, which takes me up to the beginning of Libra. Okay, so that is in essence how harmonic charts are created. And harmonic charts are sort of these auxiliary charts we can look at that add additional meaning to something like a natal chart. I think of a natal chart as representing the nouns and the verbs in our life, and these harmonic charts as being modifiers, so they're like the adjectives and the adverbs in our lives. So that will give you the gist of what's going on. Now, let's get back to this 266 harmonic. 266, that factors into 19 times 7 times 2. So all of the angles, all of what we call the 266 harmonic angles, they are also going to contain all the 19 harmonic angles, all the 7 harmonic angles, all the 2 harmonic angles. And so the overall meaning of the 266 harmonic, it's going to also contain, have incorporated within it, the meaning of the 19 harmonic, the 7 harmonic, and the 2 harmonic. Okay? Now, to get a better sense of what the 19 harmonic is, we can divide 360 degrees by 19, and this gives us back what I call the root 19 harmonic angle, which is approximately 18.9 degrees Aries. And you get all the remaining 19 harmonic angles by just taking this root 19 harmonic angle and multiplying by 2, then by 3, then by 4. When you get up to 19, multiplying by 19, you get back 360 degrees, which is equivalent to 0 degrees on our astrological clock. And then following that, you would just repeat the same angles. You would start over with 18.9 degrees Aries. Okay, now if I take this sign of Aries, and if I replace that sign by an entire zodiac, then that is going to give me back what is known as the 12 harmonic. If I do that a second time, take every sign in this sub-zodiac, replace that by another zodiac, I get back what's called the 12 squared harmonic. If we do this procedure a third time, I get back the 12 to the third power harmonic. And in the sub-zodiacs, 18.9 degrees Aries, that gets converted into about 17.4 degrees Scorpio. And then the 12 squared harmonic, 28.4 degrees Libra. And the 12 cubed harmonic, 11.1 degrees Pisces. So when we look at these sign positions in these subharmonics, this root 19 harmonic, it has overtones of Scorpio, Libra, and Pisces. And that seems to correspond somewhat with what David Cochran, who now recently changed his name to Santino Mancuso, has written about the 19 harmonic. He wrote, interest in seeing things from many points of view in order to better understand it. Open, receptive, and interested in the insights of artists, writers, philosophers, and scientists of all kinds, inclined to abstract thinking and a love of literature. Well, a lot of these things I think can relate to Pisces, going into things in depth, that would be Scorpio. Wanting to connect with others, that would be Libra. So putting this all together, I tend to think of the 19 harmonic as being associated with intensity, transformation, relationships, and vision. Now, the 7 harmonic, the root 7 harmonic angle is what we call the septile. Santino's research shows that the 7 harmonic is associated with focus on things, being focused on this or that. The septile angle comes shortly before the sextile, which I liken to the first date in a relationship. And think about how focused you are right before you go out on a date. That is the essence of the septile, based upon my understanding and upon Santino's research. And of course, the 2 harmonic, that's the opposition. The opposition is all about integrating opposites, finding that other and then uniting with them. Okay, now, if we look at the 266 harmonic, well, the root 266 harmonic angle is going to be about 1.4 degrees Aries. And if we look at what this gets transformed into in the 12 harmonic, the 12 squared harmonic, the 12 cubed harmonic, we get back 16.2 degrees Aries approximately, 14.9 degrees Libra approximately, and approximately 28.6 degrees of Virgo. So Aries denotes action and independence, Libra, relationships with others, Virgo, practical intelligence, attention to details, making adjustments. Because Virgo is 150 degrees away from the start of the zodiac, and that corresponds to a quincunx, which denotes adjustments that have to be made. So putting this all together, the 266 harmonic tends to be about action or independence, peaceful relationships, healing or service, attention to details, adjustments, transformation, vision, focus, and integrating with others. In other words, intense focus on taking actions to heal relationships and realize transformative visions. So this is giving us additional information about what this eclipse chart is all about. Its 266 harmonic chart will act as a modifier on things that we're going to be focused on and trying to heal and trying to realize. Now, if we look at the chart for the 266 harmonic for that lunar eclipse on March 13th, this is what we get. And we see this opposition that stands out. So that suggests that this eclipse, part of the aftermath, is going to be a realization of this opposition that's out there. And on one end of this pole, we have Sun, Moon, and Neptune in Libra. And this is going to be about creating peaceful, harmonious relationships. But at the other end of the pole, we have Mercury conjunct Pluto in Aries. This can be more belligerent, more militaristic, or just taking transformative actions. So the issue here is to reconcile these two opposites, to integrate them with one another. If we're going to take transformative action, let this be action taken in the name of peace and harmony in our relationships. That is the outcome we would like to see. In other words, if these things don't get integrated together, we have the peaceful people over here, the more hawkish, more warlike people over here trying to take actions that we don't like. But we have to try and integrate these opposites, take the transformative actions, but in a way which doesn't upset relationships and the peace and the vision we're trying to realize. Now, there are a couple of trines which are going to help out with the tensions. Jupiter is a drive toward expansion and growth, and that is going to be trine this side, sextile the other side, uh, doing things that lead to growth or growth of personal creativity that can help resolve some of these tensions. Over here, we have Chiron conjunct Venus. Chiron is going to pop up several times in these eclipse charts and harmonic charts I look at. And remember, at its best, that is this joyous, transcendent energy. But when we're not open to it, we experience the wounding. With Chiron conjunct Venus, this could bring out the better side of Chiron, and certainly the trine relationship could turn out hopefully to be beneficial. So that may help release some of the tension surrounded with the Aries energy. It's making a trine to the nodes over here more strongly than they are to Pluto, but it's still kind of within orb. Okay. We also have some midpoints worth looking at here. We have Venus at the Sun Uranus midpoint. So let's see here, Sun, Uranus, and Venus, and the Moon, of course, is also the Moon, Uranus midpoint. Venus is often also at that midpoint. So this is combining creativity with both our inner self, our outer persona, in order to try and create some harmony. So this could be a very good motivation. And we have Neptune conjunct the Jupiter Chiron midpoint. So here's Jupiter, and let's see, here's Chiron up here, Neptune over here. So this contact between Jupiter and Chiron, that can bring out the beneficial side. And with Neptune involved, a vision of expanding joy is created. That is an outcome of this eclipse that I think we should all focus on. The more consciously we open ourselves up to this possibility, the more likely it is to come about. So these could be very positive endpoints involving harmony, ourself, creativity, healing, joy, growth, and vision. So let's focus on that, and let's try and integrate. If there are things in our life that we are in opposition to, people taking other political positions we don't agree with, positions we find too warlike, create that vision. Wrap them up in the love and the harmony that you are feeling. And then that will make it easier to integrate them with your particular harmony. Okay, we can't simply bury things because then they come back. We have to wrap these things in light, and then the light can help guide us all. Okay, now let's move on to that solar eclipse at the end of the month. We had a bunch of planets in Pisces and a bunch in Aries. And over the next few weeks, more and more of these planets are going to go into Aries by the time we get just about at the end of March. I think, well, the next day on March 30th, Neptune went into Aries. And then toward the end of May, I think on May 24th, Saturn will move into Aries. And of course, Venus will move into Aries long before that. So soon all this Pisces energy is going to be replaced by Aries energy, which is more action oriented and more independent. Can be aggressive, but doesn't necessarily have to choose that path. Okay, now here's one of the problematic things. If we go back to that solar eclipse, remember we talked, okay, over here about this square between Mars and Chiron that was beginning to form. By the time we get to the solar eclipse at the end of the month, boom, it's really strong. Mars at 22 degrees of Cancer, square Chiron at 22 degrees of Aries, and also scoring Eris, which has been associated with strife. So this is probably going to result in some kind of strife and wounding somewhere in the world. Of course, right before this, we had that horrific uh, earthquake in Asia, which affected people hundreds of miles away from the epicenter. But this suggests, yeah, some sort of wounding either has occurred or will occur in the months to follow this solar eclipse. But we have some beneficial things going on. We have this very nice and very strong sextile between Uranus and Saturn. Saturn has to do with structure and making things concrete. Uranus is creativity and innovation. They're working together in a coordinated way. And Saturn in Pisces has visions of things. Uh, Pisces and Neptune, they dissolve structure, so Saturn doesn't quite operate well here, but while it is in Pisces, this can represent plans that people are making, visions people are having of what to build, and creative things they can do, and in particular, creative things that can help the world economically, since Uranus is in Taurus. And with Mars making a trine to Saturn and a sextile to Uranus, it's adding energy to all of this, energy and impetus. So these trines and sextiles represent an easy path. And hopefully that means it will also be a good path. It's not necessarily a good path. Possibly you have an easy path toward uh, creating structures that are not good, but let's hope for the best and hope that this is an easy path to create beneficial structures. Now, what's interesting is uh, this was a partial solar eclipse, and Saturn is actually closer to the lunar nodes than the sun and the moon are. Eclipses occur at new moons and full moons when those lunations occur close to the lunar nodes. But it's actually Saturn which is closest to this north node. So it may be Saturn which is being energized here, and this goes along with what I've said about Saturn appearing very strong in a lot of these important charts, and hence that could result in this being a year of scarcity. But let's hope this triangle here leads to some beneficial innovation that will result in sustained growth rather than scarcity. Okay, now another thing that was happening at this solar eclipse was Neptune. If you look at its position here, 29 degrees 58 minutes Aries, that is only 1 minute of arc away from where Neptune was at the start of the American Civil War. And I've been saying for a long time that I don't necessarily expect two armies to be facing off in the streets, as happened during the American Civil War in the 1860s, but I am expecting more protests, more dissension, and more legal battles fought in the courts. And that is exactly what is happening right now. Right after the solar eclipse, the Democratic groups and entities start filing lawsuit after lawsuit to challenge some of the things the executive branch is doing. Okay. Now, again, I use this wonderful little program called Frequency Finder that works with the Sirius software to, out of the first 360 harmonics, find which one is going to be the strongest. And it came back and said the 319 harmonic is the strongest, and that is equal to 29 times 11. Now, the root 29 harmonic angle is going to be approximately 12.4 degrees Aries. And if I look at this harmonic, see what this angle gets changed into in the 12 squared, the 12 cubed harmonic. In other words, when I keep replacing 30 degrees by entire zodiacs. And the subzodiacs, this point corresponds to about 28.97 degrees Leo, 17.6 degrees Pisces, 1.03 degrees Scorpio. So Leo has to do with personal creativity and pleasure, Pisces with vision, Scorpio, intensity, depth of thought. And this time I asked Microsoft Copilot what the 29 harmonic means. And it said the 29th harmonic in particular is associated with themes of transformation, deep introspection, that would be Scorpio, and spiritual growth, that would be Pisces. So this seems to fit pretty well. And 11, 319 is 29 times 11. The 11th harmonic has long been associated with restlessness and a sense of urgency to get something done. Now, if I look at the 319 harmonic in particular, the root 319 harmonic angle is 1.13 degrees Aries. And if I look at its positions in the subzodiacs, 12 harmonic, 12 squared, 12 to the third, I take it out to 12 to the fourth. I get back about 13.54 degrees Aries, 12.51 degrees Virgo, 0.09 degrees Virgo, and then I start repeating. If I keep looking at these 12 raised to a power harmonics, all of these harmonic angles will eventually repeat, but this one does it quickly. So basically, we have Aries, Virgo, and Virgo here. This is going to be about independence and action. Virgo, attention to detail and making adjustments, healing and service to others. So combining all of these meanings, the 319 harmonic appears to be about vision, transformation, action or independence, making adjustments, that's Virgo, the details of healing or service, more Virgo, and a sense of urgency, that's that 11 harmonic that is contained within these harmonic angles. Okay, now, if we look at the solar eclipse for the 319 harmonic, look at this big pile of planets we have in Pisces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, Mars, Pluto, Venus, Neptune, Sun, Moon, and Jupiter. Pisces, it's the last sign in the zodiac. It's the end of the cycle. This is when we're letting go of the old things. They're dissolving. We're looking for something new. Pisces is very spiritual. It's looking into the future, into this next cycle, into a new world, a new realm. And Pisces is where the boundaries that separate us dissolve and things come into oneness again. So this is really interesting when we combine this with these meanings we saw for the 319 harmonic. I think people are really looking desperately for some sort of harmony, some sort of oneness, some sort of healing vision that they want to come into the world now. People are tired of all the strife, all the opposition, all the wounding, and they want things to come together again. That is very strong in this harmonic chart related to this particular solar eclipse. This is the urgency, the desire I think people are going to be feeling in the months ahead. We want to get beyond all this opposition, all this conflict, and find some peace again with ourselves and with each other. Now, Chiron, remember I said Chiron is going to pop up several times uh, in relation to these charts. And in this auxiliary chart, in the 319 harmonic, Chiron is making a nice trine to plants over here. So that's going to bring out the healing side of Chiron and the joyous side. We have a square to this from the lunar nodes that is simply going to intensify all of this, intensify that sense of urgency, that desire for peace. And in opposition, we have Mercury conjunct Uranus in the sign opposite Pisces, which is going to be Virgo. This is going to be our left brains trying to work out the exact details for how we can bring about the vision that we're focusing on here and the creative way in which we will do it. Okay. Now, if we look at midpoints, there was only one midpoint within that 15-minute orb, and this one was at 15 minutes, but we have Neptune at the midpoint between Venus and Jupiter. Venus is harmony, Jupiter is growth and expansion, Neptune is vision. So we are looking for this vision of freedom and growth and peace and harmony and joy. And that's what we would like. That's the future we want to go into, and we're feeling an almost desperate or urgent need to have peace. So that's one thing we should all try and focus on in the months to come. Even though there may be some wounding, this is what we want. And to help us achieve that, I propose the following meditation. 5 steps. Just spend a few minutes each day remembering something that filled you with joy. Could be people you know, something that happened in the past, but something in your life that gave you great joy. Once you find that, realize that the thing that gave you joy in the past is not currently present, and yet you're still feeling joy. And from that, you can come to the conclusion that joy is your essential nature, and that joy was within you all along. Something in the past triggered that joy, but it's gone right now. But you're feeling that joy. You can feel that joy now because joy really all comes from within. And the closer you get to your essential nature, the more joy and oneness you feel. But as you feel that joy, feel it expand within you. Let it surround your entire being and then let continue to expand without you until it covers the whole world. And feel that joy not only within you, but without you, surrounding the entire world. And then come to the conclusion that the only way to really change the world is to change ourselves. You can change yourself by finding that joy within and letting it expand. And in turn, this will affect the world. It will affect the world through people you run into at the supermarket or repairmen you're doing, service people you're doing business with. Your joy, if you approach them with joy, that will touch them and help bring out their own joy. And there's also this idea of quantum entanglement, that we're actually connected with everything in this world and in this universe at some level. And when we increase the joy within ourselves, everyone in the entire world is going to experience a little bit of that joy that we're experiencing. And the more people that experience joy, uh, the more this world will change for the better. So please practice this little meditation each day. You can do it with eyes closed. You can do it with eyes open. You can be watching the news, but still be in touch with that joy inside and still let that joy expand to encompass not only you, but others, those people you know and those you don't know. And when that joy in the world reaches a critical amount, a tipping point, then it's going to solve all the other problems. It can be kind of difficult to solve many of these problems directly. Some people can work on them directly and make things better, but a lot of us don't have the tools that we need or the opportunity to make that kind of direct impact. Surely we can write letters to people in our government, to our representatives. We can engage in protests if we wish, do this or that to try and correct things. But for many of us, probably the most important thing we can do is to just contribute to the overall joy in the world until that tipping point is reached and suddenly there is a torrent of joy affecting everyone and resulting in everyone wanting to work together in harmony. So please try this meditation, do it daily. Let's do it for 6 months. Let's see what the results are. Okay, if you haven't felt joy yet, maybe this picture will do it for you. Okay, well, that is the end of this little presentation. So I will stop sharing. I'm back, and I'll just say, so long, be well, go in peace, and above all else, go enjoy. Spread joy around at every opportunity. Greet people with a smile, greet people with joy. Interact with them from a place of joy. And visualize and imagine the whole world being touched by joy and being filled by joy. And if I had a bumper sticker, it would say, visualize joy. Okay. If you can make bumper stickers, maybe you'd like to make that one. But let us all visualize joy, fill the world with joy, and let's see what happens 6 months from now. So long.